To my dear friend who lives in the world beside mine, I am writing with a quiet smile and a steady breath. I wanted to reach you before the day resets any more than it already has. I will not begin with explanations because I know you like stories first and reasons later. Let me simply tell you about my day and what it felt like to live it. I woke before sunrise because a word I said last night kept echoing and would not let me rest. I whispered an apology into the dark and the room cooled by a small degree. In my city, words do more than point because they also do. My apology backed up the last minute so that the echo softened and the quiet returned. You do not need a manual to imagine this because you already know what a promise feels like when it lands. A promise pulls on the air, and your shoulders drop, and a door opens inside your chest. Here, that pull is not only a feeling but also a task that gently begins to run. I smiled because the room accepted my apology, and my lamp eased into a warmer glow. I made tea and told the kettle to bring the water to a calm simmer, and it obeyed with a pleasant patience. My words carry signatures and limits, and those limits are old and well-loved. A child who tries to tell the sun to stop will get a kind refusal and a soft reminder to speak with care. A doctor who sings a dose in the ward will get a gentle hum from the monitors, and the pain will step back a pace. People here talk about language the way you talk about tools and gardens, and safe streets. We speak so that things happen, and we speak so that some things never happen again. Our sentences are like keys that open doors only in the houses we are allowed to enter. You might think that sounds cold, but it has made us both careful and warm. We learn to hold our vowels the way a baker holds dough with steady hands and clean benches. I left my flat with my cup still warm, and the hallway lights dimmed as I passed with a polite bow of the beam. My neighbor waved and told the lift to come to our floor, and it did in a friendly way. In case you wonder, tone matters here because tone is part of the signature. A cruel order breaks apart and falls like dry leaves. A kind request forms a simple shape and fits where it belongs. We do not always get it right, and that is why we have ways to fix our speech. You can retract a sentence the way a fisherman reels a line. Pull back slowly, say sorry, state the new shape, and let the river settle again. At school, the children practice with toy rooms that only turn on paper lamps and toy fountains. They sing little chores into life and giggle when the paper lamps glow with small pride. My work took me to one of those schools today. I help teachers write lesson scripts that keep the rooms safe when the giggles get wild. The head teacher met me at the gate and asked me to listen before we changed anything. Listening first is our best custom, and I think it is yours too, even if you do it in a different way. We sat in a circle with 8 children who had learned a new rhyme during the week. The rhyme was about sharing lunch, and it worked in the lunch hall to match plates with food. It matched too well because a boy with allergies received a plate that looked right but was not right. The boy realized in time and raised his hand and said stop with a voice that held the room like a firm palm. The room obeyed because stop has wide permission in the hands of anyone who is at risk. The boy was safe, but the teachers were shaken because the rhyme had felt so sweet. Sweet words are lovely, but sweetness can hide errors the way flowers can hide bees. We traced the cause by asking the kids to speak the rhyme one word at a time. A girl with a gentle lisp turned the word nut into something soft, and the room did not map it. The rhyme ignored the allergy table because the table expects the sharp sound and not the soft one. We changed the rhyme to include a double check where the table asks the eater to nod before it serves. The new rhyme worked better because it asked for 2 small truths instead of 1. The boy laughed and the hall relaxed, and the flowers could keep their bees. While we were still at the school, a courier brought a sealed note from the city office. The note asked me to visit the courthouse after lunch to help with a hearing about a dangerous phrase. I have told you before that I sometimes help the court with phrases that refuse to behave. My job is quiet and respectful, and it gives me the strange joy that comes from tricky puzzles. At lunch, I ate outside on a bench and told the clouds to move along to make room for the sun. They drifted without complaint because the weather in our city listens to local voices with soft rules. My bench neighbor had a sketchbook and asked the park to keep the breeze steady for 10 minutes. The trees agreed and clapped in a slow way that felt like a kind show. I finished my tea and went to the courthouse with my best shoes and my clearest voice. The courtroom looked like yours would look with wood and glass, and good light. The difference sits inside the air, because the air in our court is trained to hold sentences in place. Every answer lands and floats like a string of small lanterns that anyone can read. The case was simple on the surface, and very deep underneath, the way a pond hides a tunnel. A sports announcer had used a phrase during a live match that made the market twitch. He said that a player would break the bank if she kept scoring at that rate. The phrase traveled into the trading rooms through a public channel that still bears a warning sign no matter how often people forget it. Several trading desks run on speech hooks because they claim it keeps them quick and clever. Quick is good until it trips, and clever is good until it stops caring. The trading hooks misread the phrase and shorted a sector that had nothing to do with banks. The sector dipped and small pensions shook for an hour before the market rolled back to its morning shape. No one lost food or medicine, but people felt the chill that comes when a safe street turns strange. The announcer stood, pale and upset, and told the court that he had not meant harm. He said he was reaching for color and speed as the match burned bright and his mouth got ahead of his reason. The prosecutor did not accuse him of malice, because there was none. The charge was careless speech in a high-privileged channel. Our law treats carelessness with stern love, because it does not want to meet carelessness again tomorrow. The judge asked me to explain how the phrase slipped past the gate that guards marketeers. I told the court that the gate still trusts the old list of risky words, and that the list has not learned new habits since the last season. It turns out that sport phrases learn new tricks faster than gatekeepers do. The solution was not to punish the announcer, but to update the gate and remind the channels that trade and sport should not share a path. The court accepted that plan and asked the league to add a short delay to broadcast lines that touch finance. The announcer bowed and said, "I am sorry," in a way that changed the shape of the last hour from a sharp edge to a blunt curve. The market logs adjusted and a few small hearts steadied again. After court, I walked across the river to the old theatre where a comedy night had already begun. I like to watch comics work because they dance with rules the way acrobats move when they can see the wires. A new comic took the stage and told a story about her grandmother, who swore like a sailor and baked like a saint. She wrapped her harsh words in a neat safety case, and the room laughed without fear. We have a word for that case, and it means the joke will not spill into the street. The comic asked the room for permission to try one risky line, and the room agreed with a warm hum. She told the line and it bounced in the case and landed as a lesson about love. I was proud of her, though we had never met. The show ended with a chant about taking care of strangers on the way home. The doors opened and the chant followed us as a soft light that reached to the bus stop. On the bus, an old man argued with a woman who was new to our city. He spoke fast and rough, and his words stepped on her fear the way a mistake steps on a dance. I sat beside them and asked if I could lend my voice to make space. The old man nodded because he had the look of someone who had had a long day and did not want to be cruel. I spoke a cooling line that drops the heat of a room, but keeps the dignity. The woman exhaled and told us that she had come from a place where words do not do much and silence does too much. I gave her a street map that speaks in slow steps and waits for a yes before each turn. She smiled and the old man smiled, and the bus smoothed out beneath us like a long breath. Tonight, I had planned to write only a short note to you. I am writing more because the day kept giving me small mirrors that pointed toward you. You once told me that in your world people argue about speech as if it lives in a box called freedom. Here, we call it a bridge that must hold weight and shock and wind. A bridge should carry joy without breaking, and carry grief without shaking others off the edge. Our teachers say that meaning is a load, tone is the weather, and context is the river under the bridge. We ask children what load they want to carry when they shout across a playground. They learn that a light insult cracks if it tries to hold heavy consequences. They learn that praise can carry a town across a hard season if the timber is real. I went home by the long route because I wanted to pass the hospital where my sister works. She had told me in the morning that a new trainee would give a pain chant for the first time. I asked the ward lights for a soft path and stepped into the long hall. The trainee stood at the foot of a bed, with a nervous jaw and a clean sheet of notes. The patient, an older woman with bright eyes, had offered to help the trainee learn in a slow and safe way. The chant began as a simple set of lines about joints and breath and rest. The trainee slipped once on the speed of a syllable, and the monitors raised a small hand and said, "Try again, please." He slowed down, and the patient laughed in a sunny way, and the pain eased to a level that she called friendly. My sister squeezed my fingers, and we stayed a little longer because the room felt like a living lesson. It made me think of you, and how you once said that care shows up in small details. You were right, and I am telling you so because I want you to hear it. After the hospital, I walked by the river again and watched the lamps switch from white to gold. A choir on the far bank was practicing for a service that heats the shelter in winter. Their song raises a legal warmth that cannot burn skin and cannot cross a locked door. Ears open, hearts open, circuits open, and the rooms welcome cold hands without demand. Someone near me whispered that they miss the mess of unplanned songs from their childhood. I told them that mess lives here too, and that we simply give it a fence so it does not run into traffic. They laughed and said that sounded like a good city rule for anything that grows fast. By the time I reached my flat, the sky was the soft blue that you get right before full night. I turned my key and asked the room to catch me if I fell. The room said it would, and that it liked my new shoes. I washed my cup and told the sink I was grateful for its patience with tea leaves. Gratitude helps speakers as much as listeners because it keeps the mouth honest. When I finally sat to write this letter, I thought about the most useful thing I could send you. I want to send you a tool rather than a claim. The tool is a way to ask your own words to do less harm and more good, even if they do not run the way ours do. Before you say a heavy thing, try to sketch its load in your mind the way you would sketch a shelf. Ask whether the studs are there. Ask whether the shelf is level. Ask whether the room needs it. If the shelf belongs, place it with care, check it once, and place it again if needed. If it does not belong, choose a lighter shelf or another wall. In our world, we would test the shelf with a small bag of sugar before we put up the jar of coins. You can do the same by speaking a small piece to a kind ear before you speak the big piece to the whole room. If the small piece hurts, repair it, roll it back, and be proud that you learned. I also learnt something today that I must tell you because it surprised me. Our city is starting a project to borrow nursery rhymes from your side. Simple songs from long ago teach our checker to find hidden corners we did not think to test. A child's rhyme is like a playful wind that discovers which fences sing and which fences shake. If you can spare a few, send them with a note about the feelings they carry for you. We will honor the feelings, keep the play, and make sure the wind does not blow any doors off their hinges. I know I have been soft in this letter, and perhaps a little tender. I am like that at the end of a day that holds both fear and relief. I am also proud of the way we walk here, foot by foot, word by word, and hand by hand. We do not pretend that our rules are perfect, because no rule loves every corner. We try to learn one corner at a time, and thank the corners we have not learned yet for their patience. I wish I could sit across from you for an hour with warm bread and a clean knife. We would talk the way old friends talk, with pauses that are kind, and silences that mean I hear you. For now, this letter can stand in for the bread and the knife and the hour. It will hold for a while, and then we will write another one. Before I close, I want to tell you one more small scene because it made me laugh. On my way upstairs earlier, I met a cat who belongs to the couple down the hall. The cat wears a tiny tag that lets it open its door with a meow that sounds like a bell. The cat meowed with a tired voice, and the door clicked, and the cat went inside with dignity. I stood there and told the air that I admired the cat very much. The air said the cat admired itself enough for both of us. That answer felt exactly right after a long day, full of rules and fixes and careful joy. Now I am ready to close my letter to you. Thank you for staying with me from the first line to this one. You are patient and curious, and those two gifts make any bridge stronger. I hope some part of my day touched something gentle in you, or showed a new edge that you want to walk along. If you ever visit our side, I will meet you at the river, and the lamps will know your name. If I visit yours, I will carry a small notebook and a soft pencil, and I will listen before I do anything else. I will end with the same warmth with which I began. With care and hope and steady breath, I remain your friend who lives in the world next to yours. Thank you for listening all the way to the end of my letter. If this note warmed you, please tap the like button, because it helps more friends find our channel. Please subscribe to Multiverse Pen Pals so you do not miss the next letter when it arrives. Leave a comment with a thought or a question, because I read them and I learn from you. If you wish to support the channel, please use the QR code at the bottom right of the video or the link in the description. You can also explore other works from completely different series through the links in the description. For now, I wish you a calm night and a bright morning, and I hope you will join me for the next story soon.